We're going to run the molecular ball simulation. It includes two classes, ball world, which has the main method in it, and molecular ball, which is a class that models a molecular ball. It's very exciting that way. It has x and y coordinates, velocities in both the x and y direction, a radius, which is like a mass, and a color. You can see where the source of this is, and if we look quickly at the constructor, you'll see that the constructor creates a molecular ball with a specified radius at a specific point, x and y, with a specific velocity. The other methods that are available are update, which makes the ball move according to its velocities, and we'll go over that a little later. And there's another method called collision detection, which makes the ball be aware of other balls and then bounce accordingly as to whether it hits those balls. Ball world is the driver program. It's what has main in it, and you can see the main here is reasonably straightforward. This section of the code initializes the balls, creates an array of balls here. In this case, it's going to have 6. And then while this loop is true, which means this loop will execute forever, it updates all the balls in the array molecules. It detects collisions with all the molecules, and then it draws. So it also has a hook. That's what this piece of code is. Let me just run it, and we'll see what it does. So this is going to launch the program. And we can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 balls. They hit each other, and when they hit each other, they're designed to be green for a moment. That works pretty well. And then as they hit each other, they bounce in other directions. What we're going to do is try to modify this program so that instead of having only 6 balls, we can add a new ball each time the key is pressed. That will require that we use a different data structure than an array, because an array is fixed. This array has 6 balls. Instead, we're going to use an array list. And I'm simply going to modify the program and indicate how that changes. The first thing I'm going to do is comment out molecules. And all of a sudden, we can see red X's everywhere there's molecules. But then I'm going to change that so that I'm using an array list of molecular balls. It's going to be named molecules. And I need to make a new one. And let's look at how it's similar and how it's different. I spelled molecular ball wrong. Here I have an array list, which is a growable array. It's dynamic. It can change its size at runtime. Here I'm going to look for the red X's and see where does an array work and an array list not work. Here I'm adding an molecular ball B to this array at a particular location. With an array list, we simply use the method add to add a ball at the end of the array. I'm going to comment that out. And now I'm looking to see what other calls change. We can see here that collision detection changes. That's in the molecular ball class, and collision detection requires an array of molecular balls. I could change this API. I could change it in the molecular ball class because now I'm using an array list. But changing that in the molecular ball class is not a good idea because it's part of its API and other classes might rely on it. So instead, I'm going to create an array to pass to it. I'm going to create the molecular ball array B, and I'm going to realize that I know how to do this because there is a lovely method in the ArrayList class called toArray. I know how to use it, and I'm going to explain this later. Right now, I'm simply making this call, and I can see that before, when I called it B, I had a red X because this variable B had already been declared. So I'll call it moles, and I'm just going to pass moles here instead of molecules. Now, let me just review what happened. I replaced the array with an array list. That required me to use .add rather than the index k because array lists work slightly differently. And it required me to create an array that I'm going to use to pass to the collision detection method. I had a choice of going in here and changing this to array list, but that would be less ideal because other classes may depend on that API. So now I have created this new array with this toArray method, which has this, in some ways, strange syntax that requires me to create a zero-sized array to pass to this toArray method. We'll explain that later. Right now, I'm going to run this program again. It's going to pop up my ball world, in which I will see 6 balls. But now, each time I press a key, well, nothing happens. Every time I press a key, the program simply records that I pressed the key. We can see that in the console, I pressed several keys. That's because here, I pressed the key. I forgot to say what I want to do is create a new molecular ball each time I press a key. And there's a method already set up called create random ball. I'm going to copy that, paste it here, and then add the new ball to my array list. I don't want add, that was an autocomplete. Each time I press a key, I'm going to create a random ball, and I just simply copied that code from up here, and I'm going to add it to my array list. Note that this array B here, that identifier or variable B is restricted to this for loop. So when I use another variable B here, it's restricted to this loop. This variable B is restricted to this loop. And this local variable B is only used inside the if statement. Now, when I run the program, we're going to see it execute. And as it executes, each time I press a key, I'm going to see a ball added. There was a ball added. There's a ball added. I can go crazy and add more balls. Press, 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 press. Press, 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 press. Press, press. Press, press. Those balls are all near the top of the screen. That's a little bit interesting. I'm not sure what's going on there. Press another ball, make more balls. I can make lots of balls. The simulation might get a little slower because it's doing collision detection among all the balls. Some of them have gone off the screen, but at least I've modified the code to allow me to add a ball. Enjoy.